It is Wednesday, August 5th, 2020. It is 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and so you know what time it is. It's time for a little bit of coin metal. And it was yet another non-virtual get your ass kicked at Jiu-Jitsu. Not just by Jiu-Jitsu, at Jiu-Jitsu Wednesday. And some reverse De La Riva. And I gotta tell you, it's an interesting position. And actually, no, today we didn't do reverse. I think today was regular De La Riva. But we were doing a couple of push-pull things. And I thought it was pretty interesting. I can see where I will definitely be applying that. We were doing one. It was a push-pull sweep, where you have got your right leg wrapped around the back of your opponent's right leg, and your left leg right up on the hip. You don't want to have it too far around though, because they grab a hold of that, they can start wrenching on your ankle there, and that's just no fun. But anyway, just basically we were doing some management of distance, and I've always had trouble with a couple of movements, and especially anything where I'm explicitly on my back, and I had a lot of trouble trying to roll around to where I was in the right position with my opponent. And I mean, I had the hardest time with it today. It's like there's very, very few things that I find that with, I mean, sometimes transitioning from a crouched position to standing, I have a little bit of trouble. Getting posted up on the right hand, sometimes I get a little bit of trouble with that. But the biggest thing that I have trouble with is trying to manage my legs up in the air, so where I'm in a laying position or I'm in a down position and my opponent is over me. And as a matter of fact, I encountered that a little bit during the roll session I had with my partner afterward. But I don't know, it's one of those positions that I don't like to be in, and I really have to work at being more comfortable there, because I mean I tend to panic if I'm in that position. I like I said, I tend to panic where I'll come up on the leg and hook the back of the thigh like a fucking koala or something like that. But anyway, so the position we were doing, I was having quite a bit of trouble with it, and especially towards the end where you have to like roll all the way around and you're facing like the same way your opponent is, but you're between their legs and you're in a position where you've got like both of your shins against their hamstrings, and you've got both of their ankles with your hands. And I can see how I would end up in that position, and I can see where that would go, where I would like to take it from there. But I was having a lot of trouble getting my body in the right position to where it was just rolling over on my shoulder to get it to go. And I think one of the problems was that I wasn't lifting my hips enough. There's a part in that particular sweep where you do have to kind of lift your hips up off the ground, and so you're semi-suspended kind of in one way. And I have a lot of trouble with that. And for whatever reason, the last few days, and it cleared up a little bit today because of what I did last night. But I'm definitely going to have to work it some more, man. I did some work out in the garden the other day, and I was just busting ass trying to get all my dirt reparticulated, so that the nutrients and stuff that I put on it would go down a lot easier instead of getting trapped in these big old dirt clods, And so when I did that, I was in a crouched position for an extended period of time, and that kind of wore on my back a little bit. And so I've been dealing with that for probably like better part of a week now, and it makes it a lot harder to jump off the line, especially, with that being like the primary linkage. And, there were a few things that I had a lot of trouble with today, and it's because, I'm hitting pain points in there because of this wear on me that I wouldn't normally be experiencing. So like we were doing like hip walks during warm-ups, and normally I'm really, really clean on those. But for whatever reason, and it's like the pain signal getting up to my brain from my back, kind of disrupted my ability to navigate the leg, and it wasn't until I just like really bit down on my mouthpiece and concentrated on just getting the form as tight as I possibly can. And even then I kept getting distracted by this ache in my back. So, and I would attribute a little bit of my performance in the role to that, because there were a couple points where I would have probably caught him. Like there was one point where I was almost side by side with him, where I was coming over the top, and normally what my move is to try and get a hand in front of his hips. The hip that's on the ground, I want to get a hand in front of it, and maybe navigate around to the back and start going for an armbar or something like that. But like I said, I was just having so much trouble navigating my legs, managing my legs and stuff, that I missed that opportunity, and so I couldn't get my knee in between his arm and his leg and try to assume a mount there. But it was my first time rolling in a couple of weeks. I think I took all of last week off of rolling, and mostly because at the end of the week I was already feeling this in my back. So I don't know. I have trouble with it because I'm coming out of having been injured. I'm pretty well recovered from at least one of the injuries that I've had recently. I've got one that's like a continuous ache though, and the only way it goes away is if I really put a lot of effort into stretching and shit like that. And so that was my focus last night when I busted out the mat, is just really smushing myself to the mat, applying pressure, and really trying to get a feel for my body again, and stretching a lot. I did a little bit of like Tai Chi stuff. I did some footwork stuff, but most of it I was actually on the ground and doing lower torso movements, where I was flat on the ground, and then I would take my right foot and extend it out and then over to the left, and kind of roll my entire body over to the left, and then do the same thing with my left foot, and that's not exactly the perfect description of it, but it's a type of warm-up, just bring it over and then bring it over and then bring it over and then bring it over. And I feel the distinct need to do a lot more of that. Like I was saying, my back feels a little bit better than it had, and I have to attribute the fact that I did a little bit of work trying to loosen it up last night, so probably do a little bit more of that tonight, and get back to where I can actually roll worth of shit. I mean, like I said, I felt like I'm getting to the point where I'm recovered enough from my previous or my recent injuries that I can get back out there on the mat. I still have a little bit of anxiety there, but I rolled with a guy that's very, 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 very good today. So the fact that I was able to survive for 3 minutes with him, and typically we do 5 minute rounds after me and my training partner stop, and I don't think I would have lasted a 5 minute round with him. I think he would have got me several times in that time period. But he was being kind. He let me out of a couple of things that if he were a little more ardent and intent on keeping, I probably would not have been able to get out of. But the one thing I really noticed is that I had rolled with this particular gentleman before at another dojo, and he used to be a lot more jerky. But of course he's dropped like 30 pounds since then. So I'm sure that's doing a lot to help him with keeping his movements really tight and concise. And I really felt that today, man. I mean, he navigated me from escaping one armbar right back into getting me into or going into another armbar. And it was just like, wow. This guy just like, he definitely picked up a notch with the sneakiness quotient, from the last time that I rolled with him. But he's always been a lot more aggressive with regard to, rolling and whatnot. And I mean, like, he asked me. I probably wouldn't have asked him if he didn't ask me. But, that's just, I had to make myself available first. And that's one of the things that I was really intent on today is, regardless of outcome, how many times I got tapped or whatever, I just wanted to roll one round. And that's what I got. I got one really good round from a very, very skilled guy. So, it is with that. I want to go ahead and throw down with some music. And, we're going to go with some body count. But the song, that's always the thing. And I think we can throw one down for Kai. And let's see. Here we go. Ace of Spades, First Dance, here on Coin Metal. And that was Exodus with Only Death Decides. And so, as far as what we're going to get into today, I actually planned something out. But I came across something, and I find that not enough people focus on this aspect of crypto. That you can lose your funds. You can do all kinds of interesting stuff with crypto, but one of the things you can also do with it is lose your fucking money. And not necessarily due to somebody hacking you, but just stupid mistakes that you make that do lead to people hacking you. Anyways, found out by this gentleman, Biddy. I felt like I had to, I want to check him really quick. I knew a guy named Biddy, and he does look similar. Anyway, so I found this dude's thread, and before we get into what I had intended on getting into, we're gonna get into this. Just stick with me here, and I think it's very important to cover, and so we're gonna do it. Anyway, this is actually on Twitter, and you can find this guy's thread. It's Bitcephus, BITCEPHUS, Biddy, BITTY. I want to put this out there because it can happen to you too. Don't be arrogant like me and think it won't. On Monday, 8/3, my Exodus Anatomic wallets were hacked. The funds in the wallet were converted to Ethereum and then withdrawn. Many were not swappable within the wallet, and still remain. I didn't have any clue this happened until I went to move some funds yesterday. Immediately upon realizing this, I started withdrawing everything to a brand new wallet, not on my computer. I feel like this is a good time to open up about my mistakes. First mistake: don't save your recovery phrases on your desktop. Always keep them offline, and written on paper is the safest option. I was arrogant, and in the back of my head thought this would never happen to me. Well, it did. Second mistake: I downloaded tons of wallets and mining software on my desktop because I use my desktop for spec mining / testing. Keep this shit 100% off any devices that you use that holds the bulk of your crypto. Third mistake, use a hardware wallet. I always preferred multi-wallets because the ease of use is great. But would you rather have ease of use or keep your funds safe? Whatever you do, keep your wallets offline except when you use them. I'm not the most technical person, but in the last 24 hours, I've learned a lot from a lot of great people. I know I'll get criticized for this, and that's fine. My only goal is to put this information out there so others don't make the same mistakes I have. I can only speculate how the hackers were able to get into my wallets, but it was likely through one of the files I downloaded. Be safe and smart. The more prices of crypto increase, the more common these tweets will become, and I don't want to see this happen to you. Yeah. Oh, let's see here. And it seems like other people had some issues too. Oh, let's see here. Loki at Loki Project says, "Hey Earl, there are no Trojan issues with our wallet. It's most likely a false positive from your antivirus, but it's also possible you've downloaded a fake or unofficial wallet. Do you mind telling us or letting us know what AV you're using and what the warning is?" Let's see what the reply is on that. Sir Joseph Greenfellow says, "Thank you for sharing. It can happen to anyone. You are correct about hardware wallets. That is where I keep everything. I transfer smaller amounts to my phone wallet only when spending. You have helped thousands with your testimony, and it is priceless. Godspeed rebuilding." Yes, sir. Let's see here. I'm trying to see if he gives us any more details as to what specifically happened. And you know what's funny? Somebody has me blocked in there. I want to expose this openly here, so... Oh, wait a minute. I'll close that. And incognito, because you can do that. Fucking people are so stupid.
I'm so smart, I've got you blocked and you can't see me.
Yeah, whatever. So let's see here. Let's scroll down. Gotta find the last one here. Let's see here. Biddy does get further into it. I can only speculate how the hackers were able to get into my wallets, but it was most likely through one of the files I downloaded. Yes, Trojans are excellent for introducing man-in-the-middle factors or elements that they need to pull off man-in-the-middle attacks. Let's see here. I'm trying to find more information on Biddy here to see if he's got something specifically. Let's see. Crypto Earl says, "Tomorrow when I wake up, I'll take a pic for you, but it's the wallet that you recommended I download about 2 weeks ago. Says, quote, Trojan. I'll show you in the AM." Okay. Let's see. "Do you recall what you downloaded? Do you have a hunch as to which file/site it was?" And that was the Buffoonist. And Biddy says, "Couldn't even begin to guess. I'm always downloading wallets and miners. Not no more." Let's see. Buffoonist says, "I wonder if Malwarebytes is good at detecting these kinds of hacks. Problem is most miners and even a lot of wallets are flagged as suspicious." Biddy says, "I tried Malwarebytes and nothing came up. Computer has been wiped clean now though. Didn't want to take any more risks." That was probably a good move, because a lot of times these type of hackers they'll often include in their packages elements that will reintroduce the virus or the exploit or whatever into your system. You know, the corrupted version of an application or something. And you won't even be aware of it. You know, you'll think you're back up and running, and you're not. You're basically using their wallet again, and just giving them your money. But yeah, Biddy, I got to tell you, this is not new. wallets are a prime place to attack, because rather than trying to attack the transaction or something like that on the blockchain, which requires a lot of electricity, a lot of hardware, a lot of bandwidth, way more resources than the average person wants to dedicate to that shit. However, doing things like, I would be willing to bet that Biddy was probably the victim of a social engineering attack, meaning that somebody I didn't check with him, but I probably should. I probably ought to hit him up and ask him if he's had any issues with his cell phone accounts recently, because a lot of times, like if he's ever had to use his telephone number or his email address or his email address, that can give an attacker a lot of information, especially if they're very good at their job as far as doing social engineering attacks. They could have done a little bit of homework on Biddy and gotten ahead there by getting some additional personal information that would make it easier for them to mimic him when they call up the cell phone service and act as him. These things happen, kids. This is a soft point that has not gone away, and I doubt it will anytime soon, to tell you the truth. And it's really a shame, because these telecoms, they ask for all of this information on us, and they create a really big hole in our personal security, just between our accounts, our bank accounts and shit like that, and all of the other things that we associate with our phones. Things like, if you get vehicle insurance through like Geico or some shit like that, they'll probably have you download an app that you can pay through, and of course that's got your credit card information too. And point being that all they have to do is get a hold of your phone or mimic your phone. If they can acquire your phone as their phone without actually physically possessing it, things like getting your IMEI number and your there's another number in there, I can't remember it anyway, changing that number in there, I think it's IMI or IMEI, I don't know, I can't remember all the fucking things, but there's a couple. MAC address. If they can get these numbers changed from your phone to their phone, you're hosed. Anything that's associated with that phone number, anything that's associated with that phone, that particular device, any of the accounts that you had on it, all hosed. And it's one of the they really need to start talking about sentencing recommendations for people that fuck up on these jobs, because there are very few people that you give as much information to as you do your telecoms when you're setting up an account. Now, there are ways to protect yourself there. And one of the ones I like to use is to make pseudonymous accounts. And you can go quite a ways in how you set them up. You could go so far as to go to one of these websites that will generate a random facial picture of somebody, but it's random and the person doesn't really exist. It's just, they take, databases full of facial characteristics or whatever, and the computer smashes them all together and creates very, very realistic looking faces. And so you copy that image and you use that as your account picture. Now all that facial recognition bullshit that they want to tie, completely fucking useless. Completely fucking useless. Make up a bullshit fucking physical address. And make sure it's not somebody's like living address or something like that. Like find an address for a bridge or some shit like that. And they do have addresses. and just use that instead. As long as you're not actually having to do anything in physical space, like receive physical mail or products or anything like that, you're golden. Make up a bullshit name. Make all everything that all the information that you're putting in those little cells bullshit. Make it bullshit. And start with your phone, and then work to your email and do the same thing. You are not required to tell these people the truth. There's nothing legally binding requiring you to tell these people the truth. And believe it or not, it's better that you don't. It's just that you do have to remember the bullshit that you told them, because you're going to have to do things like upgrade your account, add phones to your account, so on and so forth, and you'll need to provide some of the information that you have provided to them in order to perform these functions. So, like I said, man, these people aren't playing fair, and there's no reason to play fair with them. Biddy, he tells us straight out, they ain't playing fair, man. They ganked fucking money out of my Exodus wallet and my Atomic wallets, and the same thing can happen to you. But he does make a point here, and it's very, very important. Sequestration, data sequestration. If you were doing stuff like testing wallets and testing mining software on a piece of hardware, make sure that's all you're doing on that piece of hardware. Don't be signing into your primary email address from it. Don't be signing into your Exchange accounts from it. Use another fucking device for it. And if you can't go that far, what I would recommend is getting a thumb drive, right? And rigging it up to where it's got a version of Ubuntu on it, or some other thumb drive, hot swappable, or not, I don't think any of them are hot swappable, but any thumb drive version of Linux, okay? And set up your wallet on that, and then you're able to do everything on a separate desktop, that when you're not doing something with it, you can disconnect it, and it's completely air gapped. There's you got to plug the fucking thing back in order to get into it. And if you've got it password protected, that's even better. So now not only do they have to plug it in, they have to acquire your password or get your password out of you or whatever and be able to log in. And then, if you go a little bit further with your wallet, you could do the same thing. Put a fucking 2FA on it. Don't make this shit easy. Put some fucking barriers up, man. It's your money. But anyway, those are the kinds of things that you can do to avoid this particular issue. Do not test wallets on the same fucking device that you're signing into your Exchange account. Just don't do it. Do not. If you're working with anything experimental, do not send funds to it directly from your Exchange account, because that'll create some liabilities too. But the point being is, there are things you can do. There's plenty of information out there to educate yourself. There's videos, there's white papers, there's all kinds of information. There's blogs. People have covered this. Enough so that you do not need to be a victim of it either. Somebody else is a victim for you already. My apologies, Biddy. There's some assholes out there. They're out to steal your money. But he is right. These issues are going to be worse. And any one of you guys that are using LN or any LN wallets, fucking be aware. Be aware. They've already, imaginarily at least, relieved themselves of any responsibility if your funds get hacked. And I wouldn't want to be the one to have to take them to court to try and get your money out of them. Anyway, with that I want to break off and cover some other stuff. And I've found this one thing, if I can find it again. I know I've got it open in a tab. Here it is. It's been a while since I've read a white paper. I felt it was time. And much to my relief, this particular one is only 13 pages. But we haven't covered a white paper in a while. And so I was digging around. This thing came up on my Twitter feed of all places, amazingly enough. And so this thing's on Offshift.io, and this is their white paper, Offshift. I don't know what Offshift is, but it looked kind of interesting, so I figured, what the hell? We should probably cover it. Unfortunately, it's only 13 pages, so we can easily digest that. But anyway, let's go ahead and get into this bad boy. And let's see, abstract. In this, let's see if it gives us any attribution up top here. Let's see, Offshift version 1.0, July 2020. Abstract. In this paper, we introduce a decentralized protocol that enables cryptographically private asset-pegged stable value, quote, offshore storage with staking interests on Ethereum. Gosh, that sounds like a lot of magic there. And so let's go ahead and get through the contents. Number 1, crypto isn't currency. Who the fuck are you people to tell me what currency is? Anyway, continuing. Number 1, crypto isn't currency. The term cryptocurrency, when used to describe Bitcoin and altcoins, is largely a misnomer. While a growing investment class, crypto is rarely used as a transactional currency. Not true at all. Monetary economics tells us that to fulfill the 3 functions of money, a currency should be, quote, 1, a medium of exchange, 2, a store of value, and 3, a unit of account. Number 1, medium of exchange. As a medium of exchange, acceptance of crypto by retailers is limited. A 2018 study on Bitcoin adoption found, using a large sample of online retailers, that, quote, acceptance of retail payments or crypto payments is relatively modest, 2%, but there is substantial interest among retailers to adopt crypto payments in the near future. While crypto proponents push for, quote, adoption and develop scaling solutions like Bitcoin Lightning Network and Ethereum's Plasma, it appears the onus for adoption is not so much on retailers but on consumers. That's true. The 2018 study determines, quote, the most serious barrier for crypto acceptance seems to be a lack of consumer demand. And that is also true. 1.2, store of value. As a store of value, Bitcoin research from the St. Louis Federal Reserve explains, quote, volatile prices might not seem to be a threat to the store of value function of money when the prices are rising, but when prices are falling, people are reminded that stable value is an important aspect of store of value. This point is illustrated by a graphic from the IMF presentation on cryptocurrencies and monetary policy. You know what? You can have that perspective on money when there's only one currency unit being circulated in a particular economy. That is not the case with crypto. Price isn't just limited to the factors inherent in one coin, but also inherent in that coin in reflection to the rest of the economy, including the crypto market. Continuing on. Store of value should be stable against future purchasing power both in the short term and in the long term. That's completely and wholly incorrect. There is nothing about economics that assures you stability of jack shit. And this lie that stability is somehow favorable or desirable is bullshit. The only fucking stable currency there is a dead currency, one that isn't circulating. Because as soon as you have two people that have a different valuation for it mentally. And especially if one of them is a fucking creator. If one of them is a creator, he's going to hold it like fucking gold or diamonds or some shit like that. The next guy is maybe going to hold it at best in regard equivalent to that of a paper IOU of the Federal Reserve. But that's the dynamic that you're looking at. That's the instability. That's the volatility. Is the differential between how you value something and how somebody else values it. They're fucking idiots. I swear, these people do not understand economics. Continuing on. Stored value should be stable against future purchasing power. Bullshit. While the hodl culture in crypto assumes that the value of Bitcoin and other cryptos will generally increase over time, this is also true of equities traded on stock markets. Not necessarily. Stock markets, like crypto markets, over time have been subject to crashes of up to 90% in value. It's this potential near total loss in value that makes crypto no better a store of value than stocks, and that's also incorrect. 1.3 unit of account. As a unit of account, the IMF is fairly straightforward regarding cryptocurrencies, saying, quote, no goods or services are priced in cryptocurrencies. Yeah, that's because cryptocurrencies change valuations all the time in relative terms to fiat currencies. So no, they are not used as a pricing gauge yet. Continuing on. Companies continue to report in major currencies, not Bitcoin. Economist David Yarmak observes, quote, Bitcoin requires merchants to quote the prices of common retail goods out to 4 or 5 decimal places with leading zeros, a practice rarely seen in consumer marketing and likely to confuse both sellers and buyers in the marketplace. No, we did just fine with it. These are the same assholes that tell us to get rid of the word Satoshi. Continuing on. Additionally, the day-to-day volatility requires retailers to constantly recalculate their prices quoted in cryptocurrencies. No, they just refuse to quote them in cryptocurrencies and spot valuate them at the time of purchase. Continuing on. For accounting purposes, denominating a business cost of goods or profitability in Bitcoin or Ether from month to month would produce meaningless data. Now that's also incorrect. The volatility of crypto at present makes it a poor unit of account. Yeah, that's complete bullshit. If Bitcoin and oil had their own market that was completely devoid of any fiat currency circulation or pairing or anything like that. You got two things. You got oil on one side and you got Bitcoin on the other. If you were to evaluate them according to things like production rate, man hours and energy invested, infrastructure costs, permitting and all that other bullshit, you would find that you could come up with a direct or an almost direct pairing between the two. I mean, you might have to go through some sort of third-party broker with regard to oil because there are diverse sources of oil and there are diverse markets because of those diverse sources. And they all have their own valuating metrics and all that other bullshit. But anyway, the point being that you can come up with a pairing between the two. And if you did that, you wouldn't notice half the fucking volatility that you do with the dollar because there's always people pumping oil and there are always people mining Bitcoin. But the Fed isn't always printing, and certainly not at the rate that they are right now. Continuing on. Volatility. And now I want to stop just for one moment there. When somebody uses the word volatility, they're trying to describe, in terms of crypto anyway, when they're talking about volatility, they're talking about the relative value of Bitcoin versus the US dollar or other fiat currency. And the reason why this is a very, very deceptive thing to do is because Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies are individual currency units. They have their own supply rate, they have their own markets, they have their own liquidity, and it's separate from fiat. But you do have to mine Bitcoin versus you only have to print US dollars. Anyway, continuing on. The chart below illustrates just how volatile crypto is compared to currencies we transact in today. As we can see, the volatility of Bitcoin, Ether, and Litecoin is orders of magnitude greater than that of common fiat currencies and gold. Volatility at present is the overriding factor undermining crypto's ability to serve as money or reliable currency. And there's another thing there, as far as commodities go, that you can do a lot to distort the relative value of them. And so when you're trying to get an honest assessment of what the market value is for US dollars, you do have to take into account that we do shit like invade other countries and depose their native governments just to get oil to go down in price because we flood the market with fucking oil stolen from them. And when I say we, I mean certain entities within the US government. It's not like that's exactly what it's designed to do, but some entities, that's what they do. Anyway, continuing on. 2. Stablecoin shortcomings. While the introduction of centralized fiat-backed stablecoins like Tether, USD Coin, and TrueUSD, TUSD, Paxos, and the Gemini Dollar have sometimes provided a solution to the volatility problem, they miss the mark in all other areas. 2.1. Fiat-backed stablecoins, a bank by any other name. Fiat-backed stablecoins are centralized for-profit businesses. Center.io, USDC, raised $40 million in venture funding. And another thing, USDC is also run by Circle, which is owned by Goldman Sachs. There's your institutional investment in crypto. Continuing. Trust Token raised $21.7 million, and Paxos raised a staggering $93.3 million. These companies couldn't become profitable or provide a return to investors by taking in fiat, issuing stablecoins, and simply holding one-to-one fiat reserves. These businesses are modeled after banks, and they generate revenue the same way banks do. Funds deposited with stablecoin issuers, like funds deposited in banks, are invested. Like a bank, issuers must keep enough cash on hand to fulfill redemptions back to cash, but invest enough customer funds to turn a profit. Despite their use of words like, quote, decentralized and redeemable one-for-one, or one-to-one, for all intents and purposes, fiat-backed stablecoin issuers are simply banks. In April 2019, it was revealed by the New York Attorney General that Tether, purportedly backed one-to-one by US dollars held in cash reserves, was at least $850 million short of total one-to-one backing. A subsequent filing from Tether Counsel stated, quote, Tether has cash and cash equivalents, short-term securities, on hand, totaling approximately $2.1 billion, representing approximately 74% of the current outstanding Tethers. Tether's filing goes on to favorably compare them to a fractional reserve bank, the very thing cryptocurrencies were created to eliminate. Circle is fairly straightforward about their aspirations to shift USDC reserves from full to fractional at some point. A Circle article titled, quote, How does a customer know that there are reserves to match their USDC holdings? States, quote, When you wire fiat funds into our system, we deposit those funds with one of our banking partners. In the future, Circle may also invest these fiat funds in highly liquid, AAA-rated, fixed income securities. There is no such thing. We talked about that on the last show, how one of the key elements of the last financial crisis was the rating agencies had become corrupted. And so they were rating FFF securities as AAA rated. Continuing on. Some will remember the AAA-rated CDOs that were traded leading up to the 2008 financial crisis. According to the U.S. Financial Crisis Inquiry Commission, all of the mortgage-backed securities Moody's rated AAA in 2006. By 2008, 73% were downgraded to junk. Whether the AAA-rated securities in which Circle and other fiat-backed stablecoin companies invest customer funds perform better, time will tell. I would say the easier the money comes and the less accountability they have, the worse the crime will be. Continuing. 2.2. More banks, not the solution. Fiat-backed bank coins do usually provide a stable valued dollar peg to which traders can exit when they anticipate volatility or price declines. But they provide no utility outside of cryptocurrency trading. That's not exactly true. Tether is used a lot these days in money laundering, from what I understand. Continuing on, there are no more spendable than Bitcoin or altcoins, are exposed to all the same risks as fiat, and require trust in an often questionable central issuer and any banking entities they use to hold their reserves. Fiat-backed stablecoins are not the solution to a lack of cryptocurrency adoption. Neither is this. I would suggest that the biggest solution to that is for the public themselves to increase their own participation in cryptocurrencies, which, believe it or not, I think with all the unemployment and shit, that more people are going to look into getting into things like spec mining and mining in general. Continuing on. Number 3, Offshift. The primary blame for crypto not being used as a currency lies not so much on retailers, but in fact on consumers. The aforementioned 2008 Jonker study concludes, quote, information from consumers indicates that those who possess cryptos don't use it for online payments. It seems therefore unlikely that the adoption of cryptos by retailers will increase substantially, making it highly unlikely that cryptos like Bitcoin will drastically change the existing retail payment system. And that's not entirely true. Crypto's observed volatility is both A, the reason it's been successful as a speculative investment, correct, and B, the reason it's not been adopted by as a consumer currency. I don't think B is correct. Okay. Volatility is important in that it provides the incentive, potential profit from trading or holding, for people to buy the asset in the first place. But those people, especially traders, aren't properly incentivized to keep value in crypto, as for the most part, they can't safely store it or spend it. That's not entirely true either. With this in mind, Offshift is designed to adequately incentivize both speculation and use as a currency. XFT, an ERC20 token, incentivizes investing and trading, while private stablecoins like ZKUSD, ZK Ethereum, and ZK BTC incentivize use as a currency for storage and spending. I don't know about that. 3.1 XFT token, listable, tradable, speculative, and convertible into ZKUSD. The XFT token is the utility token that enables use of the Offshift protocol and the potentially volatile side of the ecosystem. XFT value is determined by the market. Like any ERC20 token, price will likely be driven by perceived utility and speculation. As the liquidity is paramount in the model, an ERC20 token is ideal Due to the number and popularity of Ethereum DEX protocols, XFT is easily listed on DEXs, centralized exchanges, and easily integrated into any wallet app with support for Ethereum tokens. XFT is convertible into ZKUSD using a mint and burn mechanism made possible by Ethereum smart contracts. Other stable value private storage projects like Haven and Triton are forks of the Monero protocol and lack smart contract capability. While mint and burn is still very much theoretical on those protocols, it's widely used today in Ethereum smart contracts. 3.2 ZK assets: private, stable value, storable, stakeable, and spendable. Offshift's ZK assets, the private, stable valued side of the Offshift ecosystem. I keep wanting to say Offshift ecosystem, are the first cryptographically private stablecoins on any protocol. Oh God, I wonder how much more valuable that makes them. The value of assets like ZKUSD, ZKETH, and ZKBTC are pegged to the US dollar, Ether, and Bitcoin respectively. Privacy, value stability, and interest from staking incentivize the conversion of XFT to ZK assets. ZK assets are an implementation of EIP 1724, ZK ERC20 confidential token standard. Offshift uses zero-knowledge proofs to keep ownership values and the values of transfers encrypted and confidential. Through a mint and burn mechanism, ZK assets are and can only be created when XFT are burned. For every $1 in US dollar in XFT sent to the burn address, 1 ZKUSD is minted and sent to an output address provided by the sender. XFT per ZKUSD, ZKETH, and ZKBTC conversion rate is determined via a decentralized price oracle. I wonder what that means. There's no like annotation to tell me what that is either. The ZK asset pegs are supported by their ability at any time to be redeemed for their equivalent value in XFT through mint and burn. Additionally, the pegs are supported by the existence of a liquid XFT market in each pair, so that converting from, for instance, ZKETH to XFT and then selling XFT to Ethereum is practical. Maintaining stablecoin price using a semi-decentralized Oracle network. Semi-decentralized. Offshift uses a semi-decentralized network of oracles to maintain stablecoin price. Oh, exactly how they do that, I wonder. 4.1. What is a semi-decentralized network of oracles? A distributed network of oracles is constructed to provide a continuous stream of price data, aggregate the data, and determine the current price of assets to be pegged. The software is constructed with arbitrary rules to protect it from unwanted and malicious external manipulation efforts. That doesn't protect you from shit. 4.2. How are the oracles semi-decentralized and why? Because we don't trust anybody. The oracles are set to run on geographically distributed nodes, which collect data from various sources like CoinMarketCap and exchanges, and submit the data they collect into a fast key value database. Offshift mint and burn contracts only accept an asset value if, at the time of the mint and burn execution, all nodes agree on the data that's been collected. In the event the nodes can't agree, the contract uses a moving average of the most recent agreed upon data. I smell an exploit. By using a distributed network of nodes, distributed, not decentralized, meaning they could all be owned by one entity. Distributed network of nodes and various sources. Rather than pulling price data directly from APIs, we mitigate the risk of a malicious actor manipulating data from any single source. The price data used in the Offshift Oracle nodes, is also subject to public scrutiny. Each node is assigned an interplanetary file system, IPFS-based address. Once every 24 hours, price data collected by each node is automatically updated and made available for download, allowing for independent verification. This cannot be subject to manipulation, as files containing the same contents will always have the same IPFS hash.
Oh.
5. Mint and burn. Through a process that we call shifting, Offshift users are able to shift back and forth between XFT tokens and ZK assets with the use of two Ethereum contracts, a mint contract and a burn contract. The contracts communicate and interact in a way that results in an equivalent value in one token being minted while another token is burned. To discourage use of mint and burn as a tool for flipping coins with the intent of acquiring more of either coin and thus increasing supply, a dynamic bridge fee is imposed on ZK asset to XFT conversion. The bridge fee diminishes to zero over a period of about 7 days, after which ZK-USD can be staked. I'm just looking at a flow chart here describing the user's perspective. It goes from the user to XFT to ZK-USD to ZK-USD, and then the bottom one is user burn XFT mint ZK-USD and equals ZK-USD. Okay, yeah, wonderful. Contract perspective. 6. Bridge fee. A one-way dynamic bridge fee is imposed on newly minted ZK assets crossing back to the public side, i.e. reminting XFT from a ZK asset, to eliminate the potential for the bridge to be gamed for profit. The bridge fee diminishes to zero over a period of about 40,320 blocks, or about 7 days, after which ZK assets can be staked. Bridge fees are distributed in their entirety to stakers. 7. Staking. ZK assets automatically begin staking 40,320 blocks, or about 7 days after they're minted. Staking rewards are distributed in the ZK asset staked. For example, a user staking ZK-USD will receive ZK-USD staking returns, and a user staking ZK-ETH will receive staking returns in ZK-ETH. The return percentage or interest rate for all intents and purposes is the same for all stakers, regardless of stake size, and varies depending on percentage of supply staked. Of the initial total supply of 10 million XFT, 15% is designated to bootstrap staking returns, while the protocol gradually transitions to a model where bridge fees alone are sufficient to fund staking rewards. The Offshift staking model will be further described in a staking paper prior to ZK Assets launch. Number 8. Potential use cases. As the first private stable-valued cryptocurrency, ZK-USD provides some unique use cases, a few of which are outlined below. 8.1 Private peer-to-peer transactions. ZK assets serve as a private peer-to-peer currency in the same way as any other private cryptocurrency, but arguably with far more usability and potential for adoption due to their compatibility with any ERC20 token wallet, and by far the most commonly used and most actively developed cryptocurrency wallet. Yeah, whatever. 8.2 Point of Sale. Point of sale transactions with ZKUSD allow both parties to transact in familiar units privately and protected from the volatility typically associated with cryptocurrencies. Any merchant that currently accepts Ether or Ethereum tokens is able to accept ZKUSD, ZKETH, and ZKBTC. Merchants not currently accepting crypto can integrate into XFT and ZK assets with the Offshift app when launched, or any number of Ethereum point-of-sale solutions. 8.3 E-commerce. E-commerce has seen the most adoption of cryptocurrency payments of any sector, as well as over 100 online merchants accept Monero and dozens accept ERC20 tokens. Like point-of-sale merchants, online merchants presumably would prefer to transact in familiar units and be protected from volatility. ZK assets provide this denominational familiarity and stability, and additionally integrate seamlessly with existing Ethereum e-commerce solutions. 8.4 Offshore savings. Perhaps ZK Asset's most appealing use case is a method of private wealth storage, away from the prying eyes of government and untraceable with blockchain analytics. Stable value, cryptographic privacy, and trustlessness make ZK Assets similar but superior to offshore storage in a bank account. Yeah, I don't know about that. Let's see, and it just gives us a bunch of images here. Images, and let's see here. 11. 10 official social media and other accounts, website, offshift.io, Telegram, Medium, Twitter, GitHub, Bitcoin Talk. So these guys are on quite a few of the traditional forums for cryptocurrency related stuff. Anyway, continuing. 11. Risks. Purchasing XFT tokens, like any cryptographic token, involves substantial risk and may lead to a loss of partial or full amount of money invested. You should carefully assess the risks before purchasing, taking into account your own appetite for risk. You should only purchase XFT tokens if you fully understand the nature of the tokens and the protocol, and if you accept the inherent risks. Cryptographic tokens may be subject to expropriation or theft. Hackers or other malicious groups may attempt to interfere with distributed systems in various ways, including malware attacks, denial of service attacks, consensus-based attacks, civil attacks, or in other ways that damage the protocol. In such an event, there may be no remedy, and holders of the cryptographic tokens are not guaranteed any remedy. The regulatory and tax status of digital assets remains unsettled and varies by legal jurisdiction. It's possible that in the future, laws or regulations applying to digital assets may be implemented which affect your rights to own, hold, or sell digital assets. Yeah, that's always a risk. That there's a point sometime in the future that you will be running afoul of the law just because the law has changed and the regulators want to apply their bullshit to you retroactively. And I can say from experience that this particular attack surface isn't one that has been terribly effective in changing the activities of those involved in this space. the same percentage of those of us who came on board with the understanding that we were more or less operating outside of the physical and government ruled world, and we're creating an entirely separate space. That same percentage of people has not changed. And I would argue that there is a great many people out there that if they knew how they could participate, even with their existing hardware, that they would adopt cryptocurrencies simply out of a necessity to try and survive. And, this whole... we talk about this on the show all the time, that the adoption of cryptocurrencies is in the hands of the users. And this is one of the things that made Bitcoin terribly appealing to those of us who first started getting involved in it, was that it operated completely separately of any regulating entity, and that it could operate specifically without any interaction, without any tax, any interaction from tax people or regulators or government entities involved at all, beyond a personal level anyway. But that's one of the things that drew me to crypto, and I think that in the not so distant future, that's going to be a significant factor for a great many more people. And when that does happen, a lot of the misconceptions that are related to supply and demand and whatnot will be resolved, and simply by an increase in public participation in this space. Anyway, let's go ahead and throw down with some music. It's been a little while, and we played a lot of good stuff the last time, but I think we left plenty out there that we can hit. And so here it is, Gizmochi, The Answer, here on Coin Metal. And that was Testament with Nostrovia. And so, what else we're going to get into today? And I think this one is kind of relevant just because we are talking about a similar product to Ethereum. It's not the same. There's been a lot of changes since the forking. But I do consider it to be instructive, considering the similarities between the two projects, as far as what their goals and their designs and what they're intended for and all that. I gotta make an adjustment here really quick. I'm having a hardware issue. Oh man. Anyway, I'm sure that can sit for the moment. But yeah, this is on Coindesk.com, and I find a little humor in this because they only seem to hammer on Ethereum Classic when I'm owning some of it. And this is on CoinDesk, as I said. Ethereum Classic suffers second 51% attack in a week. And this is authored on August 6th at 5:10 UTC. And this it starts at the tweet. Today, another large 51% attack occurred on ETC, which caused a reorganization of over 4,000 blocks. Until further notice, ETC pool payouts are disabled, and we encourage our miners to switch to our ETH pool at ethermine.org in the meantime. This is by Sebastian Sinclair, so yes, penis. Ethereum Classic has suffered a second 51% attack in a week. Thursday morning, after more than 4,000 blocks were reorganized. It's kind of weird seeing as this is Wednesday, huh? Mining pool of Ethermine's parent entity Bitfly and exchange Binance reported the reorganization, announcing all Ethereum Classic payouts, withdrawals, and deposits had been suspended due to the attack. And just checking something, it's still August the 5th, so apparently this attack hasn't happened yet. Which I find really funny because, like I said, the dating on this is for Thursday, not today. Anyway, somebody is contacting me or trying to contact me here. Who the fuck is talking to me here? Okay. Alright. So here, where the fuck were we? Quit messaging me, damn you. There it is. Alright. Mining pool Ethermine's parent entity, Bitfly and Exchange Binance reported the reorganization, announcing all Ethereum Classic payouts, withdrawals, and deposits had been suspended due to the attack. It's unclear how much the attacker has made. The reorganized transaction history is currently the longest chain on the network. However, the majority of Ethereum Classic miners, such as mining pool Ethermine, are continuing to mine on the shorter version of the network, meaning it accepted the history of the network. Developers behind Ethereum Classic said in a tweet minutes before Bitfly's report that exchanges and mining pools are advised to significantly raise confirmation times on all deposits and incoming transactions in light of network or recent network attacks. A chain reorg occurs when a party gains more hashing power than the rest of the network miners. The adversary can then rewrite the chain's history and, quote, double spend the blockchain's native currency, in this case Ethereum Classic. Hashing power on Ethereum Classic looks to have decreased considerably since Monday, August 3rd, dropping nearly 20% from 1.6 terahashes per second to 1.3 terahashes per second as of press time. This fresh attack to Ethereum Classic's network follows on from a recent attack that occurred from July 29th and August 1st, according to blockchain analytics firm BitQuery, that looked at the evidence on Wednesday, which we're gonna look into that. While Ethereum Classic developers initially said the network did not suffer from a reorganization or a 51% attack in that previous attack, BitQuery said Wednesday that an attacker double spent a little over 800,000 Ethereum Classic, about $5.6 million, and paid about 17.5 Bitcoin, $204,000, to acquire the hash power for the attack. The monetary value of Thursday's 51% attack in terms of the double spends is not yet known. However, at $23.44 per block reward on Ethereum Classic, the attacker has most likely earned $93,760 from block rewards alone. The attack follows the depreciation of the Open Ethereum client on July 16th. Nearly half of the network's nodes, including important mining and exchange connections, operated on Open Ethereum software, which became immediately outdated following the first chain reorg July 31st. Ethereum Classic developers have urged node operators to switch to Bisu or multi-geth implementations as soon as possible. Ethereum Classic's price was $7.03 as of press time, down less than 1% over 24 hours. Not the first. The network has suffered major reorg attacks at least twice in the last 2 years. Ethereum Classic Labs CEO Terry Culver initially said this past weekend's incident was not an attack, but the result of an accident where a miner went offline for several hours. BitQuery refuted Culver's initial claim the event was the result of an offline miner losing internet access, quote, for a while whilst mining. BitQuery's argument chafed against Ethereum Classic Labs, with BitQuery stating the attacker withdrew more than 807,000 Ethereum Classic from a crypto exchange and sent it to several wallets between July 29th and 31st. According to BitQuery, the attacker then started mining blocks after purchasing the hash power from NiceHash provider Dagger Hashimoto. On July 31st, the attackers sent money to their own wallet address via private transactions and then implemented the transactions into the blocks they were mining. The attacker then sent back money to a crypto exchange, which BitQuery alleges belongs to Malta-based OKX, and cashed out to US dollars or Bitcoin by splitting up operations to avoid detection. By August 1st, the attacker published their blocks with an instance of the transaction created from the private transactions and then performed a chain reorg. According to BitQuery, it took over 12 hours of executing transactions between exchanges and wallets the hacker owned over a non-reorged chain. As of press time, none of the funds compromised in the 51% attack have moved from the OKX exchange, according to BitQuery. And I guess Nicholas G., Wolfie Zhao, William Foxley, and Christine Kim all contributed to reporting. So yeah, apparently Ethereum Classic is not out of the woods on this. And let's check the initialization of this attack, though. Apparently, here we go. This was on July 20th, 2020 at 1900 UTC. Open Ethereum supported 50% of Ethereum Classic nodes. Now it's leaving the project. And this is on Coindesk.com. And it's by William Foxley. Update July 27th, 1745 UTC. This article's language was updated to better reflect the current and future status of Ethereum Classic's node network. As things stand, only 30% of Ethereum Classic's nodes will be able to support the future network hard forks after a major client walked away from the project last week. Open Ethereum has voted to stop supporting its Ethereum Classic client to focus attention on other projects. In addition, it has concerns about that blockchain's immutability, according to a GitHub vote on Thursday. It's also well known that client Multigeth will not support future network updates either for similar reasons. What this means is, of the 615 current Ethereum Classic nodes listed by ETC nodes, 425 of them won't update in the future as developers make changes via hard forks, unless the nodes move over to another client or another development house picks up the project. That leaves Besu with 3 nodes and Core Geth with 187 to support the network if a hard fork were to occur now. Open Ethereum supports 294 nodes and Multigeth supports 131 nodes. The former is a project run by decentralized exchange DEX, Gnosis, that supports Ethereum and Ethereum Classic implementations written into the Solidity programming language. Open Ethereum has chosen to shut down support for the original Ethereum mainnet to conserve developer energy for its Ethereum client, formerly known as Parity Ethereum. Gnosis, Open Ethereum inherited with the entire client codebase from Parity Technologies in December. In a private message, Gnosis founder Martin Koppelman told CoinDesk that Gnosis did not have the, quote, capacity or willingness to get involved into the governance, aka drama, of other chains. Quote, we explored various options to work with different players from ETC, but in the end we felt we want to focus on the thing we know, and that is Ethereum, he said. Immutability lost? Ethereum and Ethereum Classic split ways in 2016, following the exploitation of a vulnerability in the DAO's smart contract code. Ethereum developers, led by co-founder Vitalik Buterin, decided to roll back the Ethereum mainnet to its previous state before the DAO incident in order to recoup the lost funds in the exploit. Ethereum Classic developers disagreed with the rollback and chose to maintain the original chain in order to keep the value of blockchain immutability alive. With Ethereum Classic's latest hard fork Phoenix, questions regarding the immutability are again at the forefront of community debate. Phoenix introduced internal changes to the tokenomics of the blockchain network called opcodes, previously implemented in December 2019 on sister network Ethereum with its Istanbul hard fork. Changing those tokenomics necessarily broke some smart contracts, thereby harming the network's image as the immutable version of Ethereum, some voiced on the GitHub. Open Ethereum developer Artem Vorotinikov said that it was perhaps, quote, time for a divorce between Open Ethereum and Ethereum Classic. That sentiment was shared by Multigeth and Parity Tech core developer Wei Tang in a June blog. Quote, if two things are basically the same without even any principle or philosophical differences, if the original good reason that caused the disruptions and splits of Ethereum and ETC is no longer valid, then I think for a healthy ecosystem of Ethereum, we should follow the majority consensus of ETH or support a merge of Ethereum and Ethereum Classic, he wrote. That sounds like a pretty good opportunity for anybody who's interested in mining Ethereum and or developing for Ethereum. Continuing on. Ethereum Classic developers respond. In a phone interview with CoinDesk, Ethereum Classic Labs CEO Terry Culver acknowledged Parity Technologies has been, quote, extremely generous in its developer support over the years. He suggested that Ethereum Classic developers should be mindful that they have to balance immutability with the need for innovation in Ethereum Classic. ETC Labs maintains core Geth. Dogmatism isn't helpful, Culver said. In short, a dwindling number of nodes could be a problem for the network. A large and diverse set of nodes is needed to maintain a blockchain resistant to third-party attacks. There are such things as social attacks and attacks like, these entities switching back to Ethereum. I would be willing to bet that their alliance being that flexible, they're so flexible in who they could put their fealty towards, that they could switch back and forth like that, that they're going to find that their alliances are again broken when Ethereum finally does switch to POS, if that ever happens. Continuing on. ETC Cooperative Executive Director Bob Somerville pointed CoinDesk to his comment on GitHub urging network developers to transition over to Core Geth or Besu. Multigeth is dropping ETC support too, but both Core Geth and Hyperledger Besu are both viable options, which we will be recommending to end users. Best wishes. So, these things are going to happen. Not everybody's going to be happy with changes you make or refuse to make. And this is, in fact, or it seems to be at least, a group of people that were involved with Ethereum Classic that are now communicating some discomfort and or displeasure with Ethereum Classic's lack of desire to upgrade to Ethereum Istanbul. And so I think that in the longer term we're going to find out that there were reasons why Ethereum Classic did not want to switch over to Istanbul, and that these 51% attacks at the moment at least, are probably people trying to coerce Ethereum Classic developers into making this transition. And it's not necessarily a reflection of the overall market's desire. Personally, I wish Ethereum Classic devs to stay on their own page. Don't even worry about the developments going on in Ethereum, and do your best to subtract yourself from any kind of alignment to them. Maintain the code base to the extent that you need to in order to have mutual compatibility between your network and Ethereum's. But that's about as far as you need to go with that. And I think that some people are mistaking Ethereum Classic's dev's job for that of being one of satisfying their desires or operating according to their priorities only. It really isn't. They operate out of their own interests. And whether it's supporting your code, if you felt that strongly about it, you could probably reorg Ethereum Classic's blockchain on your own and just implement your own BIPs, or EIPs rather. Whether or not everybody will like that and whether or not everybody will support the changes that you decide to make is another story. And we've seen this before with regard to projects being taken over after they were fully asserted and created by individuals or entities that were themselves self-interested and did not consider the majority of the community involved in their decisions. That could be what's going on with the Ethereum Classic and the network at large, or the user base at large, or whatever. But I don't think it is. I think it's just the work of certain entities that want Ethereum Classic to go a certain way, and they're not going that way. Or, if the Ethereum developers wanted to go a certain way, and a group of entities decided that they didn't want to follow. And I think mischaracterizing it in a vindictive way like this, I think doesn't really help anybody. Make your decision. Decide to support which variant you want to support, or make your own. If there were enough nodes and miners out there that wanted to support a variant of Ethereum that was in fact a hybrid between Ethereum and Ethereum Classic, it's entirely possible. You're completely free to do it. Will you do it? That's up to you. And this is something that these people are going to have to get very realistic about. You cannot expect other people to mine the variant you want. You cannot expect them to write the code that you want or implement the code that you want. If you've got that big a fucking problem with it, you've got to step up and provide your own hash power. Just like this person that cracked out this 51% attack, they devoted $204,000 to committing this attack. That's somebody with a significant amount of resources to begin with. Is that you? No. It's not me either, unfortunately. It becomes possible with to leverage this kind of thing through DeFi, though. And that's an attack type that we have seen committed before. And I believe we will see it again on some of these tokens that don't have really good governance on them. And I'm not going to name any specifics because I don't really have any in mind there. I'm not spoofing like I'm all that knowledgeable, but I am saying that I've seen enough to believe that there are some that I haven't seen yet and that you're potentially invested in. But it is with that I'd like to close out this episode. Thank you very much for listening. I certainly do appreciate the support. We will be back again on Friday at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and so until then, I want you all to trade safe. Do your homework. And watch out for your own bunghole, because nobody else is going to do it for you. And as far as our last dance is concerned, I don't have anything picked out at the moment, but I think that this one will suit us just fine, although it is a little bit short for our intents and purposes. Maybe I can dilly-dally around for like another minute or so. No, I think this will be okay if we shut it off just a moment or two short. We tend to go over, so it won't hurt us to be 60 seconds under. And so here it is, Suicidal Tendencies. Send me your money. Last Dance here on Coin Metal. Thank you again for listening, and you all have an excellent evening. Good night.